able to get a firsthand experience of what's going on at Lake Mead and the drought situation and the water levels. We were on Hoover Dam. We crossed over Hoover Dam. We were able to see, you can see the mountains there at the dam. So on one side you got Lake Mead and the lake levels. You can see how low they are. It's unbelievable. And then on the other side, you can see the Colorado River. And that's where Sin City Outdoors, I believe, they record a lot of their videos. They do a lot of fishing videos. And it's really, I feel terrible for the West Coast and the states that rely on the water and the water and the power and just the entertainment factor of having Lake Mead and Lake Powell available. Now, we haven't hit Lake Powell. We haven't hit Lake Powell yet, and we're trying to see if we can squeeze that in on the trip. But losing the water, losing the ability to use water, losing the power, the hydroelectric power component, and the states that are going to be affected by it is terrible. Fortunately, the East Coast, Midwest, they don't quite have these same problems. They're not in drought areas. They're not in the desert, but they're also not trying to help. I think like there's states east of the Mississippi that could possibly potentially offer some assistance to the West, but also Western states are looking to utilize some desalination systems and techniques to take ocean water, take water from the ocean, and basically remove the salt from it so that it could be a viable source for drinking water. And now, also there are other solutions being thrown around for possibility of just restrictions and cutbacks. And if you think about it, who uses the most water is more than likely going to be those who produce food, farmers, and things like that. So, it's a tough situation. It's a tricky situation. It's a double-edged sword, and I hate it. I'm glad that we were able to come out this way and travel and see so many different things in so many different states and really put our own eyes on a lot of the things that we read about and we talk about and see it firsthand what's really going on, because it isn't always quite what you're led to believe depending on who's bringing you the information. And but the other thing is, we experienced the overall state of the economy, right? And that is very shocking because so we are on this full-time van life, family summer vacation road trip, and we spent a lot of time in the van, living out of the van. But as we got to certain parts of California and now in Nevada, it's just too hot. Like, number one, there's really nowhere great to stay as far as the available harvest hosts and KOA campsites, but it's just too hot. And even with somebody shared a tip, and they said, put water on the cooling fins of the air conditioning unit to drop the temps.
Tarp over the top.
Yeah, so, but even still, I don't think it's going to be enough to bring the ambient temps inside the van down to a safe, comfortable level.
Not when it's 114 out here.
No, but at the same time, it's like, you're in Vegas, so it's not hard to convince us to stay at a hotel in Vegas. All right, so with that being said, though, we have stayed at 2 different hotels in Vegas, and what is interesting about both hotels, and they're not under the same ownership, because most of these hotels are owned by like one of 4 companies, and they're big, like Caesars, MGM, like they're all like, there's different names of hotels, but they're all owned by the same company basically. But these 2 are not. The 2 that we stayed at they're not owned by the same company, but they do share similar features, and these include a reduction of employees. And so let me just break it down to you as to how and why this is going to work. We walked into our first hotel to check in, and the check-in line was probably the way that the line looked with the one attendant that was working at the desk to check you in, which she was probably older, of an age where she was probably retired and was forced to go back to work. Okay, so the line looked like, based on this current situation, the line looked like it was going to take about an hour to check in. However, right next to this woman were 6 or 7 kiosks where you can check in yourself. So for the very first time, we checked into a hotel. We stayed in the hotel. We checked out of the hotel, and we never spoke to a hotel staff employee one time. Then we switched to a different hotel, different ownership, same process, same thing. So what is it? You tell people, hey, check yourself in. Use the machine, use the terminal, use automation, use technology, and basically put people out of work. Put them, the human component, put them out of work. But they won't do it. Instead, put one person at the desk, make the line crazy long, and people will tell themselves, this is what we're going to do.
But they also sell it to you as a, hey, we're trying to help you so you don't have to stand in line as long. I know you guys want to live this Vegas life, so go ahead and use this easy, convenient way we've come up with for you to check in so you can skip the line. Don't have to worry about it. Just go straight to your room. So what they're doing is they're selling you convenience, but what they're really doing is making more profit for themselves because you've done all the work. They don't have to hire the people so they can pocket the money instead of paying more employees to help the people.
Yeah, I don't think Vegas has any issues with profit. I don't think they have any issues with profit, but if you can move away from the human component, this place can literally run 24 hours. 24 hours. So It's like, oh, well, we don't want to pay somebody to sit at a desk between the hours of 3 a.m. and 6 a.m. to check people in. Well, you don't need to because you have a computer that'll do it. And, you can get this place to a point where it's pretty much self-sufficient and, a massive hotel with thousands of suites. You'd be surprised, the direction they're going with automation, with kiosks, with tellers, with digital casino gambling devices. You could run this multi-billion-dollar business with so few people, with the odds of any downtime being just null. And honestly, you're like the most valuable employee you're going to have is going to be IT tech support, and the cleaning staff. The cleaning staff will be valuable because that hasn't been automated yet, but I'm sure they're working on a way to do that.
So you have to think that before C19, as I like to call it, you didn't have the kiosks and the easy ability to check in. You stood in these lines, but you also had 5, 6, 7, 8 attendants at the front checking you in. Because of everything that's transpired in the last couple of years, these places have realized that it's easier for them and on their guests, in all actuality, to have a way to check in that doesn't require having to focus on human interaction, because there are so many people who still don't want to get within 6 feet, which if you're in Vegas, I don't know why you'd be here if you don't want to be within 6 feet, but it's easier for them to not have to worry about this one person gets sick, so now all 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people in the row of check-ins are out. If you only have one person working back there and that person gets sick, you move them out, you move somebody else in, as opposed to the entire section having to bounce, basically.
And it's like we're seeing more and more employees upset and not happy with their current working situations, and I don't blame them. I'm gonna tell you right now, I haven't worked a job where I checked in or clocked in like 20 years probably, and then I haven't worked a job where I get paid by somebody else for 10 years. So, but I made this choice and this decision years ago, and a lot of people are seeing it and understanding it and realizing it today, but they're being forced into it, where I made the choice and decision to make this change because I wanted to, and now people are being forced into it. So, speaking of forced, railroad, Union Pacific, BNSF, Norfolk Southern, these railroads, they're forcing these employees, they're forcing these union workers, these engineers, these conductors, they're forcing them to realize that they don't want to do this anymore. And they're forcing the next generation to not even get involved. And it comes down to the fact that, hey, we don't want to be on the road all the time. We don't want to be on call 24 hours a day. We do want to have the ability to spend time with our family and not be docked through some point system because, we needed to go to the doctor or the dentist, or our kid was graduating from high school. Or think about those in the railroad industry riding the trains, these several mile long trains, and they're unable to have any personal time, and any personal time that they would have had is probably used to transport from where they stopped back home, which is ridiculous. So it's really no personal time. But imagine at the height of the real estate market, when rates were still low and you had opportunities to get in, but you worked in the railroad, so you could never make an open house. You could never make a showing. You could never get above the place where you were because you were stuck at this job that gives two shits about you. And I guarantee you, based on what's going on and the more strikes that we're seeing across multiple industries, besides C-19 and social distancing and all that other stuff, these companies have realized we got to get rid of these people. We got to get rid of these people. And then, the perpetuation of more and more strikes is just further signaling to the companies, hey, we need to hurry up and get rid of these people.
I definitely think that you're going to see more jobs taken away than walked away from in the coming months, especially as people keep saying the economy's going to crap, and you believe it until you go to places like, I don't know, Las Vegas and Disneyland and places like that, where you see people just throwing money left and right like it's nothing. But you have to remember, there are people in this country who have that ability, and you can't really look down on them because they have the ability and are able to do these things. You have to kind of take it with a grain of salt. But I do believe there's going to be more jobs that are taken away than people wanting to leave them in the coming months.
Yeah, so here in Vegas, I would say security, IT number one, because it keeps these places making money. It's all a computer. Security, not going to be a shortage of a need for security here. And the hospitality as far as cleaning, because they can't fully automate that yet. But there's an interesting little something that I noticed being here, despite Mitch McConnell, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, claiming that Americans are flush with cash from stimulus checks, and that's why they don't want to go to work. They don't want to go to work because work sucks, okay? Work doesn't appreciate you. Work doesn't pay the bills. You can't afford inflation. You can't afford anything, really.
Work will replace you the second they have the opportunity, as opposed to hold on to anything for you. Like if you were to get sick or you needed to take some time off, they'll replace you instead of hold your spot.
But I did notice that there's a lot of international people here traveling. So this may not just be a U.S.-based economy solely. This is international money here, and international investors, a lot of different ethnicities and nationalities here. But what is crazy to me is the fact that where we live, our malls struggle to stay occupied. Our malls struggle to keep stores open. And here, there's lines of people trying to get into Louis Vuitton.
And Fendi and places like that. Now keep in mind, there's lines to get in, but it doesn't mean that people walking in there are buying anything and going out.
It doesn't mean that they're buying and going out, but at the same time, there's probably, if I pull up on the map, there's probably 10 Louis Vuitton stores within a 3-mile radius here. You would not have that many if people weren't spending the money.
There's no Walmart around here, though. You have to definitely get out of the city in order to find a Walmart. You can find like a Walgreens and a Target and a CVS, but everything in there is 4 or 5 times more expensive than if you were to just go right off the strip to a regular Walgreens, CVS, Target.
Somebody commented, and I don't know if you saw it, but they said that there's a Sam's Club nearby, and the eggs were some ridiculous price for 5 dozen eggs.
Something like 24 something for 5 dozen eggs, that it went up like $14 in the last couple of weeks. And then there was another one where if you were to place your order online at Sam's Club, somebody else mentioned that now they're charging you like a $4 curbside pickup fee for your order.
Right, but he also said that was the only option of eggs. It wasn't like, wow, these are expensive, I'll get a different one. That was it.
That was it. If you wanted eggs, you bought those eggs, which I've said before that it's not that there are shortages of everything, it's that there's less options of so many things, and those options that are left are the more expensive options as we go.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's just it's economies of scale. It's very interesting to see, different areas and how everybody's reacting to what's going on with the rise in inflation, with Jerome Powell and the Fed jacking the rates up. It's just this city, this town, like, I don't know how you survive as an employee, but this city and town is not going to have any issues whatsoever. Even after they were shut down for so long, which they'll probably never let happen again, they'll let the money and tax revenue keep that going. It's just if you're at the lower level here, I don't know how you make it. I don't know how you survive unless you really are in a great position for gratuity and have the ability. But then you couldn't live nearby. You probably have to go further out so you have cheaper cost of living. But at the same time, it's like, how long do you want to be here? Because you are at risk with the situations that are occurring at Lake Powell and Lake Mead. Yeah, there may be a solution. Hopefully there's a solution so we don't see just extreme drought and people don't have water and power. But, it's a bad situation. And, a lot of people left California. I don't think Shelby Church left California, but she covered how a lot of big names, about a lot of big celebrities and YouTube channels were leaving. I know Graham Stephan left California. He went to Nevada. Economic Prepper, he was telling me about a friend of his that left California. He went to Nevada renting because he can't find a house yet, but it's still cheaper. But the economy is a struggle. It's a struggle. If we see, which is a high likelihood based on the comments and emails that we're receiving, if we actually see this negative downturn in the railroad union workers, they said even if it was just for 48 hours, the pain would be so unbearable for the rest of the world, rest of the country.
You got to think about it. Even when the ports weren't really moving, there was still stuff within the states moving around. You still had things getting from point A to point B. If the railroad shut down, that was what was moving things from point A to point B. So now you've got nothing. It doesn't matter if there's anything at the port. There's nothing to take it away from the port to, its final destination. So even if the railroad's only shut down for 24 hours, that's probably a week or two that you're going to get, kind of screwed on getting the things you need. In 48 hours, you're going to double or triple that amount of time. Yeah, it would definitely be bad.
Yeah, and they're saying that it's going to affect the food too. I didn't know how much food was actually transported by rail, but they're saying it would affect the food. So Amarna asks, let me see if I can do this right. I don't know how to keep these.
I don't think you can do it on there.
I don't know how to keep these comments up. Amarna Mazel, sorry if I'm pronouncing your name incorrectly. Have you guys spoken to random people there to find out what they think about what's going on economically? We've spoken to a few actually, and I don't know. I'm completely messing this up. It's just going all over the place. But no, yeah, we have spoken to a lot of people here, and honestly, I have not come across anyone who has any issues or any concerns with the economy. I did see a gentleman. I didn't talk to him, but he was leaving the casino, and he was very angry, and he was yelling and screaming, and he slammed the bar on the door to open the door. I think he lost a lot of money. I think he lost a lot of money.
Probably. Now, most of the people here, as someone said, talks to locals, but here in the casinos and in the hotels and stuff, I don't know how many are actually locals except for the ones that are literally working. And we did talk to one last night who's been here for 6 or 7 years working and saying that, there were issues during C-19 where it was very hard to make ends meet, but now that things have opened back up because Vegas was on 2 hard lockdowns and 1 soft lockdown, more so than a lot of other places. They had lockdowns. So the people who work in these areas really were hit harder than I would think a lot of places were, because this is strictly tourism. There's nothing else in here that's really going to pay your bills unless the tourist us are here throwing around money, right? But he was saying that it was definitely harder during the last 2 years, but now that everything's back up, he's actually making more now than before C19. Do you remember that, Blair?
Yeah, but we got to run because we got to check out. We are, like I said, we're going to try to see if we can get over to Lake Powell and maybe do like a little comparison there as it is how it relates to Lake Mead. But I appreciate you guys joining me for this live stream this morning, and we'll see you guys real soon. Take care. Bye.